Brittney Griner is playing a game, and this is what Brittney Griner calls. I was not going to comment on any of this stuff until this took place. Watch what she says. The entire internet has reacted to this. Here's Brittney Griner. They're playing against the Indiana Fever, and look what she's saying. Go ahead, Rob.
For the ticky-tack fouls that we were talking.
Patrick Bet-David just unleashed absolute fire on Brittney Griner, and the internet is going absolutely insane. The Valuetainment founder didn't hold back at all after seeing the viral video of Griner's comments about Caitlin Clark. What he said next has everyone talking, and Brittney Griner probably wishes she never stepped foot on that court. Do you think Patrick Bet-David was too harsh on her, or did she deserve every word of that brutal takedown?
Well, that pretty much sounds like trash effing white girl.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just be honest.
So the whole market reacts to this. With
Folks, Patrick Bet-David just delivered one of the most savage takedowns in sports media history, and Brittney Griner is probably still picking her jaw up off the floor. The successful entrepreneur and media mogul absolutely destroyed Griner after that viral video surfaced, and he didn't pull any punches. This wasn't just criticism. It was a complete demolition job that exposed everything wrong with the WNBA's current culture. Let's start with what set PBD off in the first place. The whole controversy began with what seemed like a simple basketball play between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. But as Bet-David pointed out, it quickly spiraled into something much bigger and much more ridiculous. Angel Reese pushed one of Clark's teammates. Clark responded by fouling Reese. Then Reese pulled what PBD called one of those LeBron flops and hit the ground like she'd been shot by a sniper. But here's where things really got out of hand. According to Bet-David, instead of treating it like a normal basketball play, certain media personalities immediately jumped to make it about race. DeMarcus Cousins started talking about how Clark was being protected because she's white. Angel. Reese made inflammatory comments. And then, this is where PBD really lost it. Jameel Hill came out with one of the most ridiculous takes in sports history. Hill actually claimed that Angel Reese would end up being the Michael Jordan of the WNBA. Let that sink in. A player who shoots just 22.7% from the field, possibly the worst shooting percentage in WNBA history, is somehow being compared to the greatest basketball player of all time. Patrick Bet-David couldn't believe what he was hearing, and honestly, neither could anyone else with functioning brain cells.
Able to read the expressions of a person and know their intent, know their character, know their perspective. But he does understand hate because I think he also understands the hate of self. When you look at the play, which is all we can speak to as professionals, all we can speak to as analysts, Angel Reese.
But the stupidity didn't stop there. Ryan Clark, the ESPN commentator, decided to jump into the controversy by attacking RG3 for supporting Caitlin Clark. And here's where things went completely off the rails. Clark actually said that RG3's opinion didn't matter because he's married to a white woman. Yes, you heard that right. A major sports commentator suggested that a black man's opinion on racial issues doesn't count because of who he chose to marry. Patrick Bet-David was stunned when he played that clip. He couldn't believe someone would say something so backward and divisive, on national television no less. The fact that Ryan Clark believes a person's spouse determines their credibility on matters of race shows just how twisted and toxic the discourse around women's basketball has become. But all of that controversy was just the warm-up act. The real explosion came when a video surfaced of Brittney Griner after she fouled out during a game against the Indiana Fever. The audio clearly captured her saying what sounded like trash effing white girl. That's when Patrick Bet-David completely lost it. He didn't mince words. PBD said it sounded exactly like trash effing white girl, and he called it for what it was, a racially charged comment from a player who absolutely should know better. But Bet-David wasn't done far from it. What really pushed him over the edge was the hypocrisy and entitlement Griner displayed. Here's a player who was literally traded for a Russian arms dealer, the so-called merchant of death, and this is how she shows her gratitude. By making racially inflammatory remarks about the player who's single-handedly saving the WNBA from irrelevance, Bet-David unloaded on that point. He reminded everyone that the United States government traded Victor Bout, one of the world's most dangerous arms dealers, to bring Griner home from Russian detention. That's the level of sacrifice and political capital that was spent to secure her freedom, and her response? To attack an American teammate who's bringing unprecedented attention, fans, and revenue to the league?
What she said about the NBA. This is so funny how all this stuff works out, right? She says, this is from Brittney. Every time we play her, there's this commotion, like this loud rumbling from the stands. Turns out it's people, thousands of them, just sitting there, watching on purpose. It's very disruptive. It's called a freaking game that they pay you money to play. Don't play the game.
But Patrick Bet-David wasn't finished exposing the absurdity of Griner's behavior. He then shared quotes, allegedly from Griner herself, where she appeared to complain about the sudden surge of actual fans in the arena. According to these statements, Griner was frustrated that thousands of people were now showing up to games and actually paying attention to what was happening on the court. Yes, really. She was bothered by the fact that people were finally watching, highlighted how bizarre and ungrateful that mindset was, especially considering how hard the league has worked for years to attract more attention. Instead of embracing the momentum, Griner seemed annoyed by it, further fueling criticism about entitlement and lack of awareness among some WNBA players.
Brittney Griner voiced frustration in a recent interview, claiming that Caitlin Clark is ruining what used to make the WNBA great. Wait for this.
Empty stands?
Tom, let me just...
Go ahead, I'm so mad.
WNBA games used to be a chill, quiet place. You could bring your laptop and relax, maybe even get a little work done. But now it's like there's a large gathering of people watching us from the stands. Some of them are yelling crazy shit about what they're seeing, putting unfair pressure on us to score like we're there for their entertainment. And that's pretty gross.
What?
Are you
I act like this.
Okay.
Rob, can you verify that this is what she said on the mom and pop WNBA model? That she's sick of the and then she says the whole thing is toxic. I saw a guy with his daughter in the crowd, both of them yelling, couldn't hear what they were saying exactly, but it was either about my performance or some light racist.
The quotes were so ridiculous they sounded like pure satire. Griner allegedly complained that WNBA games used to be a chill, quiet place where you could bring your laptop, relax, and maybe even get a little work done. She supposedly said that fans yelling and cheering were putting unfair pressure on us to score, like we're there for their entertainment. Of course, these quotes later turned out to be satirical, but Patrick Bet-David's reaction to them still struck a chord. His commentary perfectly captured the entitled attitude that many WNBA players have been accused of displaying. The very idea that professional athletes would complain about fans showing up, cheering, and actually caring about the game is so backwards. It's almost hard to believe. And yet, the fact that so many people thought the quotes could be real says a lot about the current perception of the league's culture.
I'm going to piggyback off of Adam because Adam's been saying this for a while, that this is why the WNBA is never, ever, ever going to work and never make money. And this is exactly what Caitlin Clark gets for bending the knee. Do you guys remember when she said, when we lost all respect for her, when she said, I want to say I've earned every single thing, but as a white person, there is privilege. And the more we can elevate black women, this is going to be a beautiful thing. That's when it was all over. And Angel Reese and Brittney Griner, they walk around like the league owes them something. Even Ryan Clark's attitude as if, bro, where's the victimhood? These are freaking millionaires. Like, what are you talking about? It's attitude, it's no humility, just entitlement, and that's...
Patrick Bet-David didn't just criticize Brittney Griner. He delivered one of the most brutal, unapologetic takedowns in recent sports media history. And frankly, it was a long time coming. He used a now viral moment not just to call out Griner, but to shine a spotlight on the broader cultural issues plaguing the WNBA. Instead of celebrating the surge in interest Caitlin Clark has brought to the league, players like Griner and Angel Reese are acting as if they're owed something, as if the league exists to serve them rather than the fans. PBD called it exactly what it is: attitude and entitlement. According to Bet-David, the WNBA is trapped in a victimhood narrative. You have millionaire athletes complaining about racism and unfair treatment while playing in a league that loses tens of millions of dollars annually, subsidized by the NBA, propped up by corporate sponsors, and promoted endlessly by mainstream media. And yet, they claim they're the ones being mistreated? PBD compared it to trying to fix a sinking boat by poking more holes. Caitlin Clark represents a once-in-a-generation opportunity to elevate the sport. But instead of rallying behind her, the league's stars seem more interested in tearing her down. PBD also addressed the satirical quotes falsely attributed to Griner, ones where she supposedly complained about fans making too much noise at games, saying she missed the days when arenas were so empty she could bring her laptop and get some work done. Even though those quotes were fake, Bet-David argued they captured a very real and dangerous mindset, complaining about success. What professional athlete resents fans for showing up? The fact that people even believed those quotes could be real says everything you need to know about how the WNBA is perceived. It didn't stop there. PBD highlighted how Clark herself has tried to appease her critics, making statements about white privilege and elevating black women. But in doing so, she hurt her own credibility. Her efforts to bend the knee didn't satisfy her critics and alienated her supporters. Instead of focusing on her game, she got dragged into racial politics that had nothing to do with basketball. PBD's point: you can't win by playing the appeasement game. He also went after media personalities like Ryan Clark and Jamila Hill, who, instead of analyzing basketball, pushed divisive racial narratives. Case in point, Ryan Clark claiming that RG3's opinion didn't count because he's married to a white woman, a shockingly regressive statement from someone supposedly advocating for progress. The media, in PBD's view, is more interested in creating controversy than in celebrating the sport or its talent. PBD brought the receipts too. Angel Reese, whom Jamila Hill ridiculously compared to Michael Jordan, shoots 22.7% from the field, one of the worst stats in WNBA history. She also shoots just 43.8% within 5 feet of the basket, meaning she struggles to make layups. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is driving record-breaking viewership, merchandise sales, and ticket demand. And yet, she's the one under constant fire? PBD noted that even someone like Karl Anthony Towns, often criticized for inconsistency in the NBA, would be insulted by a comparison to Reese based on her performance. One of PBD's most controversial but thought-provoking comparisons was likening Clark to Jackie Robinson, not because of race, but because she's facing hostility from within her own sport, as the first major white superstar in a predominantly black league. Jackie Robinson faced racism from outside baseball. Clark faces resentment from within her own league. Both, however, brought undeniable value to their sports and faced unnecessary resistance while doing so. As a seasoned entrepreneur, Bette David also provided a business analysis of the WNBA's failures. He pointed out that the league's financial model is broken, relying on NBA subsidies while criticizing the very fans and attention they so desperately need. He warned that once Caitlin Clark takes time off or gets injured, we'll see just how dependent the WNBA is on her presence. And that prediction proved prescient. Clark was recently announced to be out for 2 weeks, and PBD didn't hold back. Good. Let's see what happens to viewership. If ratings crater in her absence, it proves everything he's been saying. The WNBA's success hinges on one player, while the rest of the league benefits from her efforts without matching her results. Finally, PBD extended his criticism to the NBA and professional sports culture more broadly. He pointed to players like LeBron James, who push political messaging, anti-cop, anti-American, pro-China, while alienating everyday fans who just want to enjoy the game. When sports become political theater, they stop being fun. And when leagues reward entitlement over performance, they lose the audiences that made them valuable in the first place. Patrick Bet-David's takedown of Brittney Griner and the WNBA was brutal, honest, and, according to many, necessary. Someone had to say what the mainstream media won't: that entitlement, victimhood, and misplaced priorities are sabotaging women's basketball from within. The WNBA has a golden opportunity to thrive with players like Caitlin Clark. But if the league continues to prioritize identity politics over excellence, it will keep sinking, no matter how many lifeboats the NBA throws its way. So, what did you think of PBD's savage takedown? Drop your thoughts below, smash that like button, and subscribe for more unfiltered sports commentary that cuts through the noise.